In a dangerous provocation, Iran presents its missile arsenal and threatens to use it. Israel's defense establishment has no choice but to take them seriously and prepare accordingly. Despite the assessment that Iran would prefer to attack American targets, preparations are also being made for a possible attack on Israel. In Tehran, they are making large threats against the United States forces in this region if President Trump follows through on his threats to attack their nuclear weapons program if they refuse to enter into negotiations for a new arrangement. In remarks to the media recently, President Trump declared that if a new nuclear deal is not reached, Iran will experience bombings like it has never seen before. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, promised a powerful blow in response, while other voices in this regime declared that missiles are ready to be launched. And meanwhile, voices from the Iranian streets are complaining that the leadership and their ballistic missiles might be protected in underground bunkers, but other reports claim that they are not. And closer to home, Israel's northern border continues to heat up as the IDF carried out a precise elimination in the heart of the Dakhia neighborhood in Beirut over the last 24 hours. And according to the IDF, the target of this strike was the Hezbollah terrorist who recently guided Hamas operatives and helped them plan and prepare to carry out a serious attack against Israeli civilians in the immediate future. And meanwhile, in a bold and unprecedented move, the Lebanese army and UNIFIL seized the largest Hezbollah camp in the south of their country, Lebanon. And on Israel's southern border, there is at least an effort being made at a diplomatic solution before a full-scale ground incursion is carried out. The evacuation notice given to residents of Rafah in the southern part of the Gaza Strip on Monday symbolizes another stage in the increasing pressure against Hamas. The plan for military takeover of Gaza was revealed and is intended to exert decisive pressure on the terrorist organization Hamas. And currently, according to the IDF, the organization is still clinging to its position of releasing only 5 hostages and ending the fighting while it remains in power, and this is a non-starter for Israel. In related news, Hamas has issued a call for anyone who can bear arms around the world to go to war against Israel and their allies. Hamas is waging a war against you too. So, if you're watching this video, pay attention. This call went out a day after Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu offered to allow Hamas leaders to leave the Gaza Strip, but demanded that the organization disarm itself while the IDF blew up a 1-kilometer-long tunnel in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. This is a terror tunnel. And also, in the last 24 hours, documentation has emerged that more than 50 terrorists have been eliminated in recent fightings in the Gaza Strip, while several tunnels have been demolished and rocket manufacturing workshops were found and destroyed. In a related story, the Palestinian Red Crescent is attempting to accuse Israel of murdering 9 of its paramedics in the Rafah area, but the IDF spokesperson's unit in Arabic, Colonel Avichai Aderi, declared that contrary to the lies dismantled by Hamas's health ministry, the IDF did not randomly attack ambulances on March 23. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on day 543 of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, the Shiite militias in Iraq, and all the other armed groups in this region that are acting under the control of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, which is the head of the axis of evil in this region. And guys, a moment before we begin, I want to invite you to click on the subscribe button if you haven't already, so that you remain tuned to the truth in real time and never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. And before we jump in, I just want to say, if you're part of our Rebuild Israel campaign, thank you. And something very special is coming your way. Can't say more just yet, but stay tuned. We begin today's report with a look at the Israeli strike in the heart of Dakhia neighborhood in Lebanon, in its capital, Beirut. IDF fighter jets joined by the Shin Bet, struck early Tuesday morning, targeting a Hezbollah terrorist who recently guided Hamas operatives and assisted them in attempting to carry out serious attacks in the immediate future against Israeli civilians. The IDF spokesperson stated that the terrorist posed a real and immediate threat, and therefore the IDF, the Shin Bet, and other intelligence branches in Israel acted to strike them in order to remove the threat. The IDF and the Shin Bet will continue to act in order to remove any threat to the citizens of the State of Israel. The Saudi Al-Hadat news portal reported that there were at least 4 fatalities from the strike, while another 4 people were wounded in the strike in an apartment building in that neighborhood. So the Dakhya neighborhood of southern Beirut has long been known as the Hezbollah stronghold, but Israel had not attacked there in several months. But last Friday, for the first time since the ceasefire, the IDF hit infrastructure for storing UAVs, drones, belonging to Hezbollah. The strike came after rockets were launched at Kiryat Shmona that same day, which Hezbollah denied responsibility for. However, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said after the strike in Beirut on Friday, for any attempt to harm the communities of the Galilee in North Israel, the rooftops in the Dakhya quarter in Beirut will shake. We promised quiet to the residents of the Galilee in Israel, and so it will be. If there is no quiet in Kiryat Shmona and Galilee, the Israeli communities on the border with Lebanon, there will be no quiet in Beirut, the capital of Lebanon. So here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on every development regarding the Hezbollah terrorist organization, which is clearly continuing to collaborate with the Hamas terrorist organization in order to attack Israel. And as always, we ask you to help us get the truth out by sharing our videos on YouTube and following us on social media. And of course, we will appreciate any financial support by clicking the donate button on YouTube to help us create more videos like this one. Thank you so much. And now we switch our focus to the continued battle against the Hamas terrorist organization in the Gaza Strip. On Monday, the Palestinian Red Crescent announced that 9 of its paramedics in Rafah had lost their lives and added an accusation that they were targeted by Israeli forces during the course of their humanitarian duties. The IDF spokesperson in Arabic, Colonel Avichai Aderi, was quickly to issue a response saying that contrary to the lies that Hamas is spreading and its health ministry, the IDF did not randomly attack ambulances. On March 23, according to the statement, these were Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists. This is the sequence of all the events that happened that day. Okay, so according to Colonel Aderi, on Sunday, several vehicles were spotted approaching IDF forces suspiciously without operating lights or emergency signals. IDF forces opened fire on the suspicious vehicles, and after an initial assessment, it turned out that the forces had eliminated a member of Hamas's military wing who took part in the October 7th massacre against Israelis and identified as Muhammad Amid Ibrahim el-Shubaki, along with 8 other terrorists belonging to Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorist group, which is directly affiliated with Iran. And after coordination between the IDF and the international organizations, the bodies were removed from that site. Additionally, Colonel Aderi published on Monday an unusual evacuation notice for the residents of Rafah in the southern part of Gaza, telling them that they must urgently move north to the El Mawasi area ahead of an upcoming IDF operation against the terror organizations. The announcement comes amidst reports of significant gaps in talks for a potential hostage deal, and it appears that applying further pressure on the Hamas terrorist organization will solve the problem and get them to the talking table. It's important for you to understand that this evacuation notice is a signal to Hamas, to the residents of Rafah, and to anyone else who might be interested to know that there is a solid military plan for controlling territory in Gaza from north to south, as well as a thickening plan of the perimeter zone. This is the zone that is meant to protect Israelis from the terrorists in the Gaza Strip. The takeover plan, along with moving the population again and halting aid, is intended to bring together all the elements of decisive pressure on Hamas, which is currently still holding to its position of releasing only 5 hostages and demanding a commitment to end the war while remaining a governing factor in the Gaza Strip. So you might be asking, what's the plan? So I'm glad you asked. Here are the details. The central pillar of this plan is to seize significant areas in the Gaza Strip that will become security zones under the IDF's control, evacuating residents and further halting humanitarian aid. We'll likely see IDF forces advancing after giving warnings to residents to evacuate. And in the south of the Gaza Strip, the IDF's control will expand beyond the Philadelphia corridor. In addition, the army will conduct powerful attacks from air and the ground and carry out softening operations to reduce the risk to our forces and also to ensure that there are no hostages in the area. And apart from this, the IDF will expand its security zone. The operation will not require a special call-up of reserve soldiers beyond what was planned in advance. And a senior security source noted that this is the peak of the military pressure on Hamas just before a wide ground incursion. Hamas is taking a significant blow. The goal of the operation, as identified by Israel, is the release of the hostages, and it will also help the special envoy of United States President Donald Trump, Steve Witkoff, to advance his plan. If Hamas agrees to the deal, it will be possible to walk back parts of the offensive and even call it off entirely if Hamas backs off its own unrealistic demands. Israel's intelligence echelon has warned that Hamas is working together with Iran to expand smuggling routes for weapons and other contraband through Africa, with the goal of building up their power inside the Gaza Strip. Therefore, Israel insists on maintaining a buffer zone in order to protect the communities surrounding the Gaza Strip. So with all of this in mind, the assessment is that Hamas will not agree to part with all the remaining hostages, and that is why we are insisting that with the renewal of the ceasefire, 11 of them be released alive. A security source says that there is an opportunity here and we cannot miss it. We are maximizing the military pressure, and it's a disaster for Hamas's perspective. If there's a deal, it will happen precisely because of the current pressure. Another senior Israeli source revealed details of Witkoff's proposal on Monday. Israel is insisting on the implementation of this agreement, which includes first and foremost the release of Idan Alexander, who holds a US and Israeli citizenship. Then, there can be 40 days of ceasefire with the release of 10 other living hostages. On the 5th day, Hamas must provide details on all the hostages that he still holds in his hands, and on the 10th day, the remains of 16 fallen hostages will be released. As part of the ceasefire, Israel will commit to talks about ending the war, but on condition of expelling Hamas leadership and demilitarizing the Gaza Strip completely. Senior officials in the Palestinian Territory organizations recently told Egyptian and Qatari mediators that any discussion of demilitarizing Gaza is rejected outright, and especially as long as there is no ceasefire in Gaza and the IDF has not fully withdrawn. And regarding the plan for voluntary immigration from the Gaza Strip, surveys carried out by Israel showed that at least 40% of Gaza residents want to leave the Gaza Strip for a third country, and 90% of Gaza's academics want to leave Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu is leading activity via the Mossad to locate countries that are prepared to observe Palestinians, and there are reportedly serious talks amongst these lines taking place with several countries. Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on what is happening with the Hamas terrorist organization, and a moment before we move on to the latest developments with Iran's Revolutionary Guards, I want to ask you to keep spreading the truth, share our videos, subscribe to this channel, and most importantly, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And before we wrap it up, remember that surprise I promised? It's for our incredible contributors to the Rebuild Israel campaign. So if you haven't joined in yet, visit www.tbn.org/rebuildisrael and you get to know what's the surprise also. So on Monday evening, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, responded to the threats from United States President Donald Trump, who warned that if Tehran does not reach a new nuclear deal with him, it will experience bombings, the likes of which it has never seen before. In a speech marking the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Fitr, Khamenei promised that the Zionist entity and the Americans will receive a harsh and powerful blow if they undertake any bad action. And alongside this, he noted that he does not believe it is very likely that Iran will be attacked by Israel or the United States. Also in the Iranian press, which serves as the mouthpiece of the Ayatollah regime, threats were issued in response to Trump's words, and the Tehran Times newspaper published a report described as exclusive, claiming that Iran has already prepared missiles with the capability to strike targets related to the United States. In the Porter's report, it was claimed that a significant number of these missiles are ready to be launched and are located in underground facilities scattered across the country and are designed to withstand aerial attacks. Other Iranian media reported that Tehran conveyed a formal warning to the United States via the Swiss embassy in Tehran, which represents American interest in that location. In this warning, according to the reports, Tehran made it clear that it would respond resolutely and immediately to any threat towards it. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said, on his part, the false image that has been created of our country in the world, that we have been weakened, is not true. It has no basis. We will show the world our cohesion, power, and stability. And to make a quick comment of my own, President Pezeshkian is either getting some really bad advice from his advisors, or he hopes that everyone will believe him just because he's a government official. The truth is that Iran's military is in a very poor shape, and most of the people of Iran hate their regime and are hoping it will fall soon so they can have a better life. And if President Pezeshkian thinks that they will fight the Americans to try and save the regime from the consequences of their own bad decisions, he's badly mistaken. President Trump issued his latest threat on Monday in a headline-grabbing interview with NBC, where he also offered some unusual criticism of Russian President Vladimir Putin. And regarding Iran, he promised in the interview, if they don't make a deal, there will be bombings like they've never seen before. Israeli officials have decided to make earnest preparations for the possibility of escalation between Iran and the United States, which will almost certainly result in further attacks against the Jewish state of Israel. Iran, for its part, had continued issuing fiery threats against both the United States and Israel. Khamenei tweeted 8 messages yesterday declaring that the Zionist entity and the Americans will receive a harsh and powerful blow if they undertake any bad action. And Israel's intelligence echelon believes that most of Iran's remaining arsenal of ballistic missiles is the only tool that it has left that can seriously threaten either the United States or Israel. The first target of any Iranian attempt to use this tool would likely be the Indian Ocean island of Diego Garcia, where the United States and the United Kingdom jointly operate a base of strategic bombers and other long-range weapons. At this stage, Israel's Home Front Command has not changed the guidelines for the civilian population, and for now, the alertness is the same according to the intelligence base that Israel possesses, and Israel's air defensive systems are operational and ready. Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on every development regarding the Iranian issue, and as always, we ask you to continue spreading the truth, share these videos on social media, and make sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Guys, the most important thing that you can do is unite in prayer for the situation, because this is a spiritual war, and prayers work. Believe me, they make a huge difference for us here in Israel. So keep praying for our soldiers, keep praying for the IDF soldiers that are stationed in Lebanon, Syria, Judea and Samaria, the Gaza Strip. Pray for the hostages to be returned home safe mentally and physically. Pray for all the innocent lives that are affected by these terrorists, and make sure to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And together, we will win this war because God is on our side.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.